Hi everyone, my name is Bisola Jungba. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And in today's video, I'll show you how to use the aggregate function from a beginner level down to the advanced level. Right now, we have a data set here that we'll be working on, and we'll have question that we'll work on that we will answer right using the aggregate common use aggregate function. We have a data set that comprises of an employee data set. Now, before we dive in, what is aggregate function, right? Aggregate function is a function that summarizes or group a range of values into a single meaningful result. For example, we have the total sales, right? The summation of the total sales. We have the count, we have the average, we have the max, and the mean, right? Although we have up to 19 aggregate function, right? We have up to 19 aggregate function. We're going to look at this common use aggregate function, right? Which is the sum, the average, the max, the mean, and the large, the small, and the count, right? So now the sum function, what it does is this: it adds up all the numbers in a value. It adds up all the number in a range of a value or in a range, right? The average calculates the mean of numbers, while the max gets the highest value in a range of numbers or range of values. The mean gets the smallest or the lowest value in a range of a value. Then the large, what the large does is it gets the k's value. For example, you have a student data set, right? And you have a student's name and their grade, right? Or the score. You want to check which student or which student has the fourth highest score, right? Now, using the large function, the k there is what is the fourth is the k's value, right? But when we dive into solving this, answering this question, you will understand what I'm saying, right? Now, the small is similar to is just like the large function, but what it does is it gets the lowest k's value in a set of numbers or in a range of numbers. Now, the count, what the count does is it counts the number of cells that contain numbers within a specific range. So now let's dive into it. Now, the first question in this data set, right, that we have to answer using this data set we have here is we should find the total sum of salary. Remember, aggregate function works with value, right? You use aggregate functions for values, right? Mainly. So now we use now, to get our total sum of salary, we use the sum function. And remember, in Excel, before you type in any function, you need to use your equal sign, which is equals to sum, right? The range of our data, the values, right? Then you close the parentheses, then you hit enter. This is what the total salary, right? And then we are asked to get the average. You use your average function, right? Average, then G3 down to G22. Now we are asked to find the highest value. Now we're using the max function. Max function. So you say G3 down to G22. This will give us our highest salary. Musa is the what highest paid salary, right? Now we're asked to look for the smallest, the lowest paid salary using the mean. G3 down to G22 give us what? Our lowest paid employee, which is Duke. Now, once we get find the fifth highest salary, right? You use the equal sign, the large function, sorry, large, right? What is our array? G3 down to G22. Now, what is our K there? The K is the fifth that we're looking for, the fifth highest paid salary. So you input your 5, then you close your parentheses, then this gives us the fifth. So let's check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see Lucky is the fifth highest paid salary. Then we are asked to get the third lowest what paid salary. So use your small function, right? What is our array? G3 down to G22. What is our KS value? 3 is our KS. So you can see when you look here, this is the lowest when you count from here to 3. So we have Glory from the finance HR department is the lowest paid, third lowest paid employee. Now we have to count the total to get the total number of employee. So in this case, we use our what? Our count function, right? G3 down to G22. Hit your enter, right? So now this is how to use the most common used function, aggregate function in Excel. Now going down to the advanced way, we have a function called aggregate itself, right? And now what aggregate, this function aggregate does is this. This aggregate This aggregate function, what it does is it perform 19 aggregate function. As I've said earlier, you can see we have up to 19 aggregate function, right? Like the sum, the max, the mean, the large, the small. You can see them all here, right? And this one ignores errors or hidden rules, right? It ignores some errors, right? And perform your function for you. For example, we have the average. We want to check the average. Let's see if it corresponds to what we have, comma. So now this is the part I'm talking about, that it ignores errors, it ignores hidden rules, and whatsoever error you have in your data set. That's when you have an error in your maybe your salary column. But in this case, we don't have any errors, so we're going to use nothing. So I'll just choose 4. Then what is our array? G3 down to G22, in close of parentheses. So give us the same value with what we have here, right? You can see it's the same value with what we have here. Now let's say we have error, right? Let's say I put in this lucky, I put NA, and I put NA as Fatima 2, right? So you can see it automatically here because we have our function. Now let's use the aggregate function. You know, these have an error, so we just say equal sign aggregates, right? We want to check let's say the sum, right? 9. Now what error are we trying to ignore? Let's ignore errors, right? Then what is our range? G3 down to G22. So now this gives us what? The total sum of our ignoring all the whole errors. It will ignore all the whole errors we have in this column. Even if there is a hidden rules, it will still perform what? Your function, right? So now which of the function do you use the most in your work, right? Which function do you use the most in your work, right? So, and if this video is useful to you, kindly drop kindly hit the subscribe button, right? And like, share, right? So now in the comment box, just drop the function you use the most at your workplace, right? Or when you're doing your work in Excel, which of the function do you use the most? Kindly drop it in the comment section. Thank you. Bye.